consistent with. Inshallah. So inshallah, yani we'll be ready to receive this new nur that we're getting from this surah. I think this surah has several points that have lived with each one of us. So I'd like to ask before we start if any of us wanted to share how did the surah change what they've been doing or open new doors of light in front of them.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Asma.
I'm so sorry. Last week I just had the thing on, but I had guests, so I couldn't participate. But I heard, the one which I missed last week, and mashallah, it was very good. Some things, I just wanted to, I don't know if it's a question or a comment. Basically, Sister Yamina explained it very well. But if you see the Western style, of economics, it is so different from that of Islam. Here, we are told that you have to save for the retirement and this and that, and all that stuff. And you have to keep some money for the rainy day and all that things, concept. But in Islam, we don't think about those things. The beautiful point that Yamina mentioned was that, Wajhi Rabbikal A'la, right? That's our greatest motivation, and that's the highest aim that we can have. And without, if we have the highest aim, obviously we are going to bypass all those inhibitions, or the shaitan which tells you you will become poor, you might lose your job tomorrow, and all those things. So we bypass all those things, and also our nafs, the negative, and if we have the picture of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that makes it easier too. And but these things, I've seen that it's totally opposite our economic system in Islam, or especially of the Quran, to give, and by giving it increases, our wealth increases, and nobody gets poor because of giving. That is very difficult to understand. It is in such a big conflict with the Western type of economics. So I was wondering about that,
I, with pleasure, would like to kind of at least partly reject what you are saying. You said that there is this difference between Western and in Islam, and I don't really see the world like this. I think that, to me, I was, my family is Christian, and Islam helped me understanding Christianity a lot. So I would say that this idea of trusting God you find in every religion, not just in Islam. So, and it has to be like this, because to my understanding, there's only one God, and God is if there's so if we think that He explains the things, then He would explain them to us and to everyone else. And I think actually you wouldn't even oppose what I'm saying. So I understand, I agree that the style that we all are living in these times is very, very different from really the teachings of any religion, and to my understanding most clearly in Islam. But I can see this in other religions as well. And this is why we like and enjoy joining here these Quran studies and these conferences, because it is really helping us to increase in the trust and in the taqwa. And then I would like to, before I give the mic free, I would like to say something about what this surah is for me. So this surah and which one is the other one? I think 92 and 86. They have both these. We will make easy for you the way to ease. And they are similar in that respect. Asma, do you mind if I mute you for a moment? You can after this immediately get unmute again. Only
go ahead.
Thanks. So they both have this how to make easy the path of ease, and that's something that's really important for me because I'm just deep in need of this. And they both have this that the path to ease is made easy if you are sincere in wanting it. So that's very good news to me because it means like so from both of them I get this so learning in general works because I want something dearly, and then it works against forgetting and against so why repetition and why doing things again and by wanting them just dearly. So both of them have this, and in opposite to this 87 here it was just give me a second. Here it will is so there was the giving piece. So to give. So the one who will there's a way to the ease, and we had this that we give when we give, we do this because we want to be closer to God the giver, and the best way to be close to the names of God is to do the things, so to reflect the names of God. And here for me the point was that this giving now is not just in the moments or in the times where I feel good and I want to give, but it's also a helpful remedy in the times where I'm suffering from my stinginess, where I'm suffering from being at the wrong end. But also then I can actually use that giving as a way of getting back to the ease of the trust. Thank you. That was my 2 cents.
Thank you, Andrea. I like the way you put things into a very concise. I like the sentence that the path to ease is made easy if you are sincere in wanting it. I like it's a very simple, easy sentence to to think of, and I think that's the theme that Yamina has been trying to let us see, that if we really want to change, we can change. If we really want to change, and the problem is that sometimes we don't really want to change. And with that, I'll just add a quick comment, and then we'll ask Sister Yamina to start with us. And that is that I see more than ever, like the whole world is realizing that that giving is what makes that giving is actually to their advantage. So now more and more, all big companies, all all big entrepreneurships, all of these, this is like even more and more becoming more and more clear today, because people are realizing the more you give, the more the economy is better, the more you are doing better, the more your business is better, the more. So I actually see people doing a lot of Muslim acts without calling it Muslim acts, and if you want to think of Muslim not just as like a ritual, so these acts are acts of people who are thinking from an economic point of view that it's better to give. But in reality, they are doing what Allah is telling us, this should be the way of living. So I'm finding people doing Islam actually, without knowing that it's Islam. They're doing it because they found out that this is the best way to live. Even if they're not doing it, there's a lot of spiritual people, in any religion will do this, but even non-spiritual people, that's what I'm finding interesting, are doing it because they're finding this is the best way for their business to grow. This is the best way for the economy to grow. This is the best way. So they're finding for their own selfish needs that this is the best way to meet that selfish needs is by helping others. And with that,
I just wanted, the same point that I was mentioning, but nothing can be, the intention depends, right? It depends on the intention. So the intention that we just studied last week of Wajh Rabbikal A'la is, there cannot be anything greater than that.
Yeah. So it's both. It's what Andrea was saying about spiritual people will do it from a spiritual point of view, and non-spiritual people, which is really, really interesting, will do it from an economic point of view, but will still do it, but from a different point of view. So that's why they don't get the same thawab, because they had a different reason.
Right.
جزاكم الله جميعا. and sister Yamina, Bismillah, let's start. جزاك الله خير. بسم الله.
Thank you, Alia. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So this, inshallah, will be our last meeting on Surah al-Layl, and we stopped at ayah 20 actually, and there was only one ayah remaining, but because it was a heavy ayah, we left it, and we want to reflect on it in the light of the previous ones, inshallah. And the ayah we reflected on last week was إِلَّا ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِ رَبِّهِ الْأَعْلَى, that Sister Asma just mentioned. And I think what Alia meant is that even because it is Sunnatullah, because it is the law of creation, that's how God creates. The law of creation, the laws of creation are not, I'm not talking about the laws of nature. That's completely another subject, because are there any laws of nature as we see them? I think there is a misperception and misnoming and everything. But I'm talking about here the laws of creation in the sense of the laws of the divine names. For instance, Allah is the giver, and so there is a law of giving in the creation, and we can. There are many levels to that law, to Sunnatullah, and one of them would be at the superficial level, when people who realize and discover that the more you give, the more things will return back. People will have more to spend on what you produce and whatever it is. And however, it is not لوجه الله, ابتغاء وجه رب الله, and they're not seeking God's countenance in what they're doing. They're not doing it Bismillah, in the name of God, so they reap whatever they seek. But I think it is a sign for us to see that truly that Sunnatullah, that law of giving and givingness, is working at many levels. And I think that's what Andrea said also. When we are in that state of stinginess, it's a disease of the heart that is disconnected from the source of giving, the source of abundance. In that moment, she said, I use the giving to go back to the path of ease. So giving is also a healing. If you say, how do I heal my stinginess? Then give despite it. And after a while, you will heal if you seek wajh Allah, Rabbika al-A'la, in it. So it is a way of healing as well. Healing from shirk, healing from not being aware of the abundance of the givingness of our Rabb. So if we go back to the last two ayat. If I just go the last two ayat, it probably won't make sense. So anyways, it was about فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى لَا يَصْلَاهَا إِلَّا الْأَشْقَى الَّذِي كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. So the ayah is telling us, I warn you of the raging fire, which none shall endure except the most wretched. who denies and turns away. And then, in opposition to this, وَيُجَنَّبُهَا الأتقى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى. And the most God-conscious, al-atqa, will be removed from, for it is the naran taladda, the raging fire. And so he's removed from the fire. Who is removed? The most God-conscious. Who? What does he do? He spends his possessions purifying himself. So he's in a process of purifying, and his giving is with this awareness of purifying himself. Not to repay someone else for favors, for a favor done, but desiring only the face of his Rabb, the Most High. And we talked about the face of his Rabb before. It appears in many places in the Quran, Wajha Rabbi. So he's seeking and desiring only the face of his Rabb. He's not doing it for any favor, worldly or otherwise. So in giving, as he's giving, he's seeking to purify himself. And how? He's seeking to see the face of his Rabb everywhere. And he shall certainly be well pleased. وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. So there is وَلَا, there is this ta'keed. He will certainly be well pleased. And this confirms and is a sign that we are on the right path, inshallah. At least it is related to the divine names, to al-Husna. So if we seek everything, or we seek anything other than Wajhullah in our life, we will never be satisfied fully. Even if we are temporarily satisfied, after a while, or when we wake up and when we realize that it's going, it is impermanent, we won't be able to be satisfied. So we will be very, very disappointed. Either now, when we are in a moment of awareness, or later at the end, al-akhirah, when it will be clear to everyone whether we like it or not. We won't be able to be mindless. We won't be to run away from the reality. The reality will be there, clear for everyone to see. Then we will realize that everything is perishing, everything is impermanent, everything is leaving us, or we're leaving it, and therefore nothing is worth living for except Wajh Allah. So, and the opposite, now you can understand the opposite. The one who in this world here gives with taqwa, with for the sake of purifying himself, seeking Wajhi Rabbih al-A'la, then he will surely be satisfied, because what will he find when he seeks the aspects of things that looks to their Rabb? Everything from that aspect is an ayah. Everything carries the messages, the beautiful messages, the beautiful meanings of the beautiful divine names, al-Isma al-Husna. So he surely will be satisfied. And anything else will not be satisfactory. So before we go into the meaning of the words, because all the words in these ayats are themselves signs, they are showing us the path to where we should go which path we need to follow in this life here now. Where are we going? So you have the night, and then the day, and then the male and the female, meaning everything is created male and female, and then we go back to our creation, and then it says, okay, now you see you have all very different aims, and there is this whole spectrum of different paths we can follow in our lives. That's what comes to our mind. But then it's giving us the two ends of where we can end up. Like at the end of the day, we have mainly two directions. And one is the one who gives and is conscious of God. And we talked about that, giving in the name of God. وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and therefore he will confirm al-husna, because if you give with that God consciousness, not in your name, but in his, you will find the giver. If I just give, even if I give plenty and everything, but if I think that I am the compassionate, it may even be a burden, because I can't, my giving is limited, and I see lots of neediness around me, and I may be overwhelmed, and it reminds me of my own limitedness, and I can't help everyone, and I become the victim of my compassion, when it's not with taqwa, when it's not in the name of God. And in that taqwa there is that realizing, being aware that yes, I am giving. Subhanallah, who is giving? Who is making me give? Who is putting all this compassion and this need to help the other? And then I start witnessing the giver in my giving, and I confirm that there is no giver except him. He is the only giver. And my witnessing, my confirming will be at the level of certainty, of yaqeen. So I will know my Rabb as the giver because I witnessed it in my giving. So I realize that I am not the giver. And that's giving Bismillah. And so I find Wajh Allah, I find that my giving becomes the mirror to the giver. It becomes a mirror. I see Wajh Allah in it. I see the aspect of the event, the aspect of things that looks to God, that looks to Rabbuna al-A'la, that looks to his Isma al-Husna. And I confirm al-Husna. And that's the only way the human heart is going to be satisfied. And وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى, he will be well pleased. Subhanallah. Of course, he will find the most beautiful thing, and these most beautiful meanings of the most beautiful divine names are eternal and endless and permanent. It's something permanent. We will love beauty and perfection, and we long for it to be permanent. Because if it's going to be impermanent, it's very disappointing. So we talked about Wajh Allah when we reflected on some ayats, and some of them were from Surah Al-Rahman. وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبُّكَ كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبُّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. All that is on it, meaning on earth, on heavens, whatever, is bound to pass away. Everything is passing, everything is transient, except your sustainer*s countenance that will remain forever. It is full of majesty and glory. So not only it remains forever, but it is full of majesty and and glory, and subhanallah, just so beautiful.
Play at home, free.
So at the end of this path, when we have this
I want to go to school.
two ends of whatever path we follow in life, at the end of the day, we make a decision. Either you give with taqwa and you confirm husna, and then we are eased into the easiest. Subhanallah. We are eased. The easiest will be will be very easy unto us. It will be our way of living and being. And for the one who is stingy and thinks that he is self-sufficient. Of course, they go together, and we talked about how they go together, because if deep down, no one believes that he's self-sufficient. But if I'm trying to be self-sufficient, I'm not going to be able to share with anyone, because actually I need to make up for my neediness, and I think as if I'm full, I'm not self-sufficient. If I have food stored in my house, therefore I am not self-sufficient. Of course, this can be is true for all other needs as well. But I can have all the food I want, I still have hunger. And of course, we talked about that neediness is actually something very good. It is the key to knowing God with the Isma al-Husna. It is the key before that to be in communication with the rest of the world. As far as hunger, for instance, is concerned, it is what makes everything that we call food and ni'mah and blessing and pleasurable. So it is the key to access any pleasure in this life, and that pleasure is the sign that tells us that, for instance, in the case of hunger, food is a blessing and it's something valuable. And so it is, that pleasure is a sign, is an ayah, it is a message about something beyond the meaning of the blessings, the source of the blessing, the gifter of the blessing, the provider of the blessing. But someone who is not open to that because he's so afraid of his neediness, and so wants to cover it up with things, and therefore cannot share anything, he's stingy. وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى, he will end up not only not seeing the source of all goodness, the best, but also denying it, because he's seeing it only in, he's not seeing the message beyond the goodness. He's seeing only the transient, the passing part of everything. And so we will ease him to the hardest. Can you imagine? Like, what is the hardest? Like trying to live as though I don't have needs, or like I am taking care of my needs, when actually it is not true at all. I cannot even make myself breathe. I cannot create the air. I cannot make my lungs or anything function. I can't do anything about it. So this person is struggling, and of course it's a burden, because it's something that hurts the person, since he's unaware of how valuable his neediness is. And he wants to get rid of it, and he can't get rid of it. For him, it's a burden, it's a wound, it's the worst thing that could happen to him. For the the God conscious is the best thing that could happen to him. It is what makes us truly human, what makes us the addressee of our Rabbuna al-A'la. It is what makes us the Khalifa, his representative on earth, who can communicate with all the creation and understand the meaning of the signs. Of the ayat. And so we go through this, and then we come to the fire, the raging fire. But after the raging fire, we're told that only the al-ashqa, the most wretched, will enter it, and the al-atqa, the most God-conscious, will be removed from it. However, I was expecting something about paradise. He would be removed from it and put into paradise. No. He says he's removed from the blazing fire, the most God conscious, and he will be well pleased. He will surely be well pleased. Subhanallah. Wala sawfa yarda. I felt it's beautiful because it gives us a glimpse of paradise while we are here, because we confirm al-husna, the best, the most beautiful, the most perfect, here in this world. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he went into the ascension, the Mi'raj, it says مَا زَاغَ الْبَصَرُ وَمَا طَغَى. Like he recognized everything he saw there. Why? Because nothing was totally new for him. Maybe it was clearer, don't know, but they were all familiar because he had already seen wajha rabbihi here in this world. So I think here and now is very important. This ibtigha'a wajhi rabbihi al-a'la is very important, and it shed lights on the ayah before that was about وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى. If we're fine until now, we can carry on.
So you're saying, can you say that again, Yamina?
Which is?
You're saying if then we can carry on. I missed what you were saying, that last sentence.
I said if so far there is no question, if it's clear.
So comments and questions. Is anyone willing to share a comment or have a question? Because I really want to get to the rest of Falyarda, because I think this is a really huge concept. So I guess let's carry it on. Bismillah.
So far, there were two things that, two characteristics of the muttaqi, of the one who confirms al-husna. He gives with taqwa, and then that the most God conscious, the one who has the most taqwa, he gives in purification. He spends his يُؤْتِي مَالَهُ يَتَزَكَّى. So it's not like he gives his possessions and then purifies himself. He gives his possessions in purification. So there is I called it Bismillah. He gives consciously in the name of God, not in his name. Not I am giving my possessions, God gave them to me in the beginning. God gave me life in the beginning. Now it's mine. No, no, no. Right now, I am being sustained in this life.
Yamina, sorry, I heard the question part very little bit late, but I had one problem. The thing is this translation here. You can hear me. The translation says they translate the taqwa as fear, but from that translation, I also it occurred to me that sometimes there's something, a doubt coming in my mind, even though I'm wanting to see the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his countenance, but there is a fear factor that it might not be accepted. My giving, my chat.
When it comes to translation, it depends on context. Taqwa does not mean fear, because fear is khawf.
Right.
However, ittaqa is to take precaution to protect oneself.
Right. No, I know the meaning of taqwa, but I'm saying just because of the fear, apart from that, it also reminded me this translation, the mistranslation rather, I should say, that there is also fear coming in my heart, or I don't know about others, but that what if this is not accepted, and there is some in between, like when you do it to show it to others. What is that called? What is the term for that? To show, sometimes you do things people do things to show others. There's a term for it. I'm forgetting at this time.
Riya.
Yeah. So it could be riya. It could be, sometimes a doubt comes that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. He knows my intention more than I do. So.
May I ask you a question then? When you said you have fear when you give for his...
No, fear that whether it will be accepted or not.
Okay. Just now, here it's not saying, it's not talking about being accepted or not.
No, it's not saying here. I'm saying it just occurred to me.
Yeah, but if we understand what's going here, it will answer your question. It is saying this person, this al-atqa, the most God conscious, who is removed from the fire, the raging fire, is he who gives to purify himself. So the intention in giving is to purify. To purify himself is, if I think I am the giver, I need to purify that. Why? Because if I think that I am the giver, or God gives lots of things, and I'm giving what I'm giving now, I am the giver of what I'm giving now. There is a hidden little shirk there, because first, if I'm giving, second, if I'm giving, I own something, but there is only one. There is one sole owner of everything, one sole giver of everything. So if I think that I'm giving, it is my perception. Something is wrong in my understanding. It is not the reality. My understanding does not fit the reality. That's what shirk is about anyway. It's my own delusion. And I purify those delusions. I purify those delusions because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes patience, and it takes persistence, and it takes prayer and dua and surrender and intention, that consciousness. And when I stay with, as I am giving, remember, of course, we are all reading all this so that we know. It's like I have the map in my hand. Is different than going into a new territory without map. But if I have the map, even if I've never been there before, now I have a guideline. So when I have the map, I have this area. When I'm giving, I stop and say, who is giving? Am I the one who is giving? What are you giving, Yamina? I'm giving whatever I have in my hand. Let's say whatever. Where did this come from? And I say, okay, so this is a gift itself. But I say, but I am the one who felt the compassion and I'm helping these people. I'm not the owner of the gift, but I am the helper. Am I the helper? I only felt the need to help. Where did that need to help come from? I have no idea. I was gifted with that need. Through my need to help, I find the helper. Now, if I am doing this, then I will start finding and seeing God in everything I do. It reminds me of that Hadith Qudsi, when he says, I become his, the one who leads his ibad and all his nawafil, until I become
his eyes and ears. Right.
Yeah, when he hears, I become his ear and his eye and his hand when he gives, which means I become fully aware that I am giving in his name, not in my name. I'm helping in his name, not in my name. He is making me help. He is the helper and he is making me help. And so this, I understand, I go back and confirm ibtigha wajhi rabbih al-a'la, and I will see wajha rabbi al-a'la everywhere. And so now will I ask, does he accept it from me or not? If I am asking, does he accept it from me? I'm still thinking, I am giving, does God accept my giving or not? But if I am just...
No, I'm not saying from that point of view. Do you remember, at the end, when the Prophet ﷺ did the hijrah and, there were hypocrites and all that, and there was a list of hypocrites that Prophet ﷺ had given it to one of the Sahabi, and Umar radiallahu anhu, he went and he said, can you please check if my name is in there? I mean, can you imagine he's such a big, that he was given the bashara of the Jannah and all that, and still he's self-analyzing that whether his intention is one of those. So I was thinking
that we have all the time. We talked about it last time also. You asked something about the awe, and when you said sadness and fear and things, that's part of it. Yeah, because we can never rely on ourselves. The moment I rely on myself, I say, oh, now I did everything. It controls the meaning, the gist of ubudiyah, because the abd can never say, I did it now, I figured it all out, now I'm fine. And the abd is the one who is always seeking, and you can never claim anything for yourself.
Yeah, until unless, like Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu said, until unless your both feet are in Jannah, there will always be doubt whether we'll make it or not, and all kinds of doubt.
That doubt is not despair. That doubt is a doubt that it is balanced with hope. So it is what keeps us moving.
With raja.
So because it's balanced with hope, it's always keep us in a state of prayer, in a state of wanting, in a state of asking for guidance, because we need it all the time, constantly, continually.
This time I would actually like to join your comment, because I think that's very natural. I mean, that's something that, so this idea, when I read these verses, so where was it? The verse that, with the countenance, that the one, so whatever, that was in another verse. So if I'm supposed to give so that God is well pleased, then I start wondering what is God. So that this whole giving, that we are falling over our feet there several times again and again, I think that's pretty natural. So to be afraid that either it won't be accepted or to have any kinds of where somehow a little piece remains from, is it me who is giving or is it God who is giving through me? I mean, so I liked what Yamina said. She said that so shirk is actually a delusion. So you want to remove that delusion to come to reality, and reality means in this sense confirming that it's not me who is giving. So this is a Maha part. So it's just on my turn to confirm that I'm not the one who is giving here. Alhamdulillah.
But you see, there are two sides to this. One is my part I'm talking about, that I feel this way, but I have full hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are two different feelings. These are mixed feelings. We shouldn't confuse the two. To have hope in Allah.
I mean, I think that you just frame it in a particular frame. So I think for you it's very clear that God is God and that's perfect. And then sometimes there comes a feeling. For me, it's not this much separated. So I would just start there. I would say, okay, I'm someone who wants to confirm reality and who wants to be on that content side, but I'm not always there. And I think that's I'm not very, very different in that respect than other people.
Yeah, the other thing is that true hypocrite will not question it, It's only people who are, Muslims and Mu'min, I think they would question this. The other thing, Sister Yamina, I found one more verse in Surah Insan which says 7 and 8. I'll start with the 8 and 9. It says, and they feed for the love of Allah, the indigent, the orphan and the captive, and saying, we feed you for the sake of Allah alone, no reward do we desire from you, nor thanks. Similar verse. This one.
I have to come back to this because I think it's important, otherwise I wouldn't. So what is God? God is not something that I know until I confirm it. And it can only be the conclusion of experience that I have here. I can never start with God. So if I start with God, then maybe someone else can do this, but I actually doubt it because it would mean starting with something that you don't know. So you really have to first confirm what God means, because it's just a name for something. And if I don't do this, if I say that God, if I take God for granted or what God ever is, then I think then I'm very, very prone to a dogmatic belief. And that's what I think is important, to not go that route. But I don't want to sidetrack too much. I mean, it might be nice to continue from Yamina what the text is, right?
Mm-hmm. Since here taqwa is a key characteristic, because we are going to give with taqwa, I wanted to remind ourselves that this taqwa is a state of being. It's a hal. In the Quran, it's used as libas al-taqwa, the garment of God consciousness. And a garment, libas, something that you wear, is idiomatically used in Arabic to describe a state of being. And that's because a state of being is something like it envelopes you. It completely covers you. You become it, like a garment, like something you wear. So it is mentioned in, for instance, Surah Al-A'raf 26-27, when Adam was...
Sorry, Sister Yamina, one more thing. It says al-taqwa also. Versus, taqwa.
Which verse?
The theme that we are doing, that you are talking about, it's al-taqwa, which is very unique, I mean.
Well, when it says libasu taqwa, that's how you make the garment of taqwa in Arabic. That's how you do it. The comes there. It's an idafa.
No, this one, 9217 was yajannabuhul al-taqwa, right? Jannabuhul taqwa, that's al-taqwa, right?
No. Oh, you're talking about Surah al-Layl.
Yeah, sorry. I'm talking about Surah al-Layl, that it's al-taqwa.
No, it's a يجنبها الأتقى. الأتقى is a superlative. المتقي is the one who has taqwa. Al-Atqa is the most, the one who has the most. So the most God conscious. So taqwa is the noun, muttaqi is the
superlative, you're saying, right?
Taqwa is a superlative, yeah. And I'm now talking about taqwa and how it is used in the Quran. For instance, in Surah Al-A'raf, when Adam alayhi salam was sent down from Jannah, from paradise, then and they were with his spouse, with his partner, they were trying to cover themselves up with the leaves of paradise. And then it says, we sent them garments to cover. O children of Adam, indeed we have sent you. So the story of Adam is the story of all human beings, of each human being, all and each. We have sent you garments to cover your nakedness, and it's a thing of beauty. But the garment of God consciousness, libas al-taqwa, وَلِبَاسُ التَّقْوَى, is the best of all. Herein lies an ayah from God, so that so that they may remember or they may reflect. And again, when it's in the next ayah, it says, "O children of Adam, do not allow Satan to seduce you in the same way as he caused your forefathers, meaning Adam and his partner, to be driven out of the garden. He deprived them of their garment of God consciousness in order to make them aware of their nakedness." And we talked about the nakedness being our vulnerability, our weakness, and neediness.
Sorry, which verse is that in Surah Baqarah?
No, Surah Al-A'raf.
Oh, Araf.
And so what did Shaitan, how did he seduce human beings? How does he seduce us? He deprives us of our garment of taqwa. So the taqwa is what we wear when we wear the garment of taqwa. When we are in that state of God consciousness, then our vulnerability is not something that we are shameful of and that hurts us, because here is something that is bad or something that hurts you, and it hurts when we forget about our connection with our Rabb, when we envision ourselves as independent and self-sufficient and existing on our own. Then our vulnerability, our neediness really, really hurts, and we want no one to know about it. And actually, we don't ourselves, we don't want to face it. We don't want to accept it because it hurts. And when we understand that it is a means to know our Rabb and to know the one who is taking care of our needs, that's what our Rabb is, and that the whole activity of creation is there to sustain our needs, and it becomes that consciousness, that taqwa. We are not naked anymore. Naked in the sense of vulnerable anymore. We are vulnerable, but not to other. Our weakness and our needs are not from other creatures and creation.
How can you be so sure that all our needs, I mean, that's the whole purpose of creation, is that our needs will be met? I mean, do you want...
Met? So put it in a different way. It's not about our needs will be met. It's that our needs, the way they are met, is the key to finding the one who is taking care of them. And we will have the same needs, but we won't perceive them in the same way. The more we have taqwa, the more that it won't hurt that we have needs, because it's the other way around. The more we have taqwa, the more our needs becomes the source of our enjoying everything, the source of our having access to al-husna, to the divine names, the source of being the addressee to our Rabb. So it becomes something to celebrate and something to be grateful for, rather than something to try to cover up and pretend as though I am not needy when actually I am. I have needs. The truth is that I have needs.
Because the part that is hurting is anyway mostly the part where I'm trying not to be aware of my needs.
Exactly. So it's not my needs that hurt me. Thank you, Andrea. But it is my misunderstanding, my misperception of the reality of my needs. If I imagine that I am independent in this world, then having needs is the worst thing that can happen to me. But if I am a abd, if I have a Rabb, then having needs is what makes me aware of my Rabb, what makes me aware that I'm being taken care of, that makes me aware that I'm a guest of a most wonderful host. So my relationship to my needs changes. It's not the needs themselves are not what makes me hurt me or not. It's how I perceive them.
And now you're saying the key is the needs, and because you said that the aim is to avoid reality, to behave like I don't have needs. But in fact, and everyone agrees on, our needs are really immense. So now you are saying the key of understanding the God, the Rabb, the sustainer, is in really putting these needs up open and being understanding by how they are met. I will understand my Creator.
Yes, and not being afraid of looking at them, because usually we are afraid.
Yeah, and Dr. Yamina, we can also, there's another aspect that we identify ourselves that we are also sometimes in need. So we identify ourselves as, with the general humanity that, when we give, that we are sometimes in that position. So we identify ourselves in the community as the basic want, like.
We can empathize and have compassion.
It might work that way too. Help us.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, sure. And so if we look again at the hikmah in omitting the direct and indirect object of giving, we're not told what to give and to whom to give. So it makes us, 2 weeks ago, we stopped and reflected on some of the wisdom in this omission, because there is a sign in the words and then there is a sign in its omission. And it makes us definitely stop and say, giving what? And we decided that it could be anything that is given, that can be given, and to whom. And what first comes to mind is whoever needs it. But if we go back to the whole cycle, when we give anything and everything, including our breathing. And when I give my breathing Bismillah, I'm not giving it to someone. But when I breathe Bismillah, then it is giving here is a like used, I wouldn't say metaphorical, but like it's used in the sense like what it reminds me of is in Surah At-Tawbah when it says Inna Allah ashtara min al-mu'minina anfusahum wa amwalahum bi anna lahum al-jannah. There it says God has bought from the believers their lives and their possessions, promising them paradise in return. Now God, how does he buy the believers' lives and their possessions, since he's the owner, he's the giver of their lives, he's the giver of their possessions, but it is a way of articulating, it's an elegant way of putting it, because at first it seems like it's my life, my possessions, and okay, I am going to give up using it for my own desires, and I'll sell it back to God in return of something. But then you realize that life is not mine and the possessions that I have are not mine. So I understand that selling is not selling something that is mine to him. It is coming from him to me, back to him. But it attracts my attention at the beginning. So here also giving could be taken at one level like that. When I give everything in his name, in the name of God, then we're like selling back the trust, the amana to him, because he's the sole owner of everything. So he's the giver and he's the owner of everything. So even when I am giving to someone else, he's giving to that person, and I'm just reflecting the giving, being surrendering to his giving. He wills to give to that person, and I do not object to that giving. I surrender to that, to his will. It reminded me of another hadith, which is, it says when in the day of judgment, it's a Qudsi hadith, which is Allah speaking in a hadith. He says, how I was ill and you did not visit me. And the person says, like, you are Rabbul Alameen, you are the sustainer of all worlds. How could you be ill and I didn't visit you? And it says, so and so was ill, and if you had visited him, you would have found me there. So you would have found, if you had visited him in the name of God, إلا ابتغاء وجه ربك الأعلى, or in here ربه الأعلى, then you would have found me there. So even when we are giving, if we are seeking God's countenance, God's names everywhere, then we will find those names in, for instance, we will find that he's the giver. If the person is in needing help, we will find that he's the helper. And we can go on. He's the compassionate, he's the generous, he's the provider. So I will let you reflect on this, but I think that this is one of the wisdoms in omitting what we are giving to whom. Actually, we are giving everything to whom? We are giving it back to our Rabb, because we see his names in everything. So giving with taqwa is like giving the amana. Amana is the trust. Everything has been given to us as a trust. Our life is a trust. It's not ours. It's not mine. It can be taken anytime, and I don't have a say about it. So before it's taken, whether I like it or not, when I acknowledge that it is not mine and it is a gift and it is given in trust, and so I use it according to the will of God, surrendering to His will, I am giving the trust back to its owner. And this will yield to rida. Like, because even my wanting, my desire is a gift. I realize that even that is a gift. And when my desires seem to go against the flow of creation, against the will of what is, that's the will of God. And if they lead me to complain or to be dissatisfied with what is, dissatisfied is the opposite of rida. وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. If I am not well pleased, I'm not following the path that is described in this surah. Then either the desires are not genuine, I may be wanting things that are not really from me, I'm just making them up, I'm not true to myself. Or, for instance, I am sick, very sick, and I truly desire health. This is a genuine desire. However, it could be that I am appropriating the desire to myself. I am the one who desire health, and let's see if Allah will give me health or not. That's not how it is. Even that desire for health is given to me. Otherwise, how would I know? I mean, there are some people, I just heard someone who doesn't feel pain. Subhanallah. You feel like, oh, it's good, but apparently it's not so good because the person can really hurt themselves and not realize that they have to seek help because they don't feel the pain. Subhanallah. Feeling the pain is also a big ni'mah. So feeling the desire for health is also given to me. It's not like I am appropriating to myself and then I accuse God with it. I use it against Him as if it is mine. And now where is the health? Whereas that desire itself is a sign that my Rabb wants to give me health, whether in this life or in the next, and that's why He gave me this need for health. And so when I have this delusion about my needs, my wants, and I don't understand what they are there for, I don't understand their meaning, I don't understand that they are given to me for a purpose, then that misunderstanding, that not being in touch with myself will stop me, prevents me from seeing the truth, the haqq, the reality as it is. And I won't be able to see my Rabb as the gifter, the provider, the helper, the most compassionate of the compassionate, Arhamur Rahim. And that delusion, that being disconnected with oneself it's a vicious circle because it's stemming from my refusal at the beginning to give the amana back to its owner. I want to cling on to it, that it's mine. Why? Because istaghna. I am in that mode of pretending that I'm independent. I don't have needs. I have small needs, but not so deep. And the only way to break this vicious circle is to be willing to surrender. And surrendering means surrender the amana back to its owner. It's not mine. Life is not mine, it is given. And if it is the money is not mine and it's given, and if it is given, then it can easily be shared with others, and then I can give it easily and gratefully, Bismillah, and then seek wajh Allah in everything. And that's also a state of taqwa and a state of ihsan. So when I am unpleased, when there is no rida, it means that I believe that things could have been better. If I have no rida, I am not well pleased with what is happening around me, it's because in my imagination, I imagine other scenarios which I think would have been better for me. And how do I know that? What is my criteria for better? I have no knowledge of what is better, no criteria, nothing. It's just pure state of delusion and disconnection with the reality. So here, this ayah at the end, the last ayah, ayah 21, 90-21, وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى, is a big sign. Like if we end up with rida, with this being pleased with what we find there, then inshallah, this is a sign that we are treading the right path, as-sirat al-mustaqim. But if there is dissatisfaction, then we'd better go back and check again where we missed. When we missed we went the wrong exit. And the ayah that comes right before 20 is إِلَّا ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِ رَبِّهِ الْأَعْلَى, is also very, very powerful ayah, because this is directly going to direct us to not what is happening in itself for itself, but what is the meaning of what is happening. And remember, this is the meaning of ayah. Ayah is, it is bearing a message, a meaning about something else. So I'm not stuck into the signpost, but I'm reading the meaning of the signpost. Where is it pointing to? What is it indicating? And mostly we would be stuck in, we won't be desiring wajh rabbina al-a'la because we do not interact with things around us as ayat. And if we're not interacting with things around us as ayat, it means we're stuck in the things themselves, and that is a reflection of our state of being, which is I see myself as existing in myself, for myself, independently of anything. And that's why I don't want to go to my needs, because they are the connection with my Rabb. They are what remains me. It's like the umbilical cord with my Rabb. And I want to, when I avoid it, when I pretend it's not there, that's the istighna, that's the thinking that you're self-sufficient. So nothing, if I am independent, everything else around me is independent, and therefore they are not ayat, they are not coming from somewhere, they're not bearing any message. And in that dark perception, everything is dark. There is no future. I mean, there is no true future in the sense that every future, every moment that comes after is transient, ends, and nothing else. And there can't be rida there. We can never be well pleased with what we see there, even if it's the most beautiful, the best thing in the world, because it has no end. It has no end. It ends. it has no end in the sense that it doesn't last. So this rida is the sign here to where we are heading, in the right path or the opposite, because here there are two main poles to all the paths that we may follow in life. And rida means to accept, either to accept without condition, to agree, to consent, to be pleased, to be satisfied, to approve, to be content. So it's used in different ways, in different areas, in different contexts. And I took some because in one, for instance, in one area, very interestingly, it is related to tasbih. So tasbih is something that will lead to rida. And so far we've seen in Surah Al-A'la how tasbih is related to reading the signs, Bismillah, to witnessing, to seeing Wajh Allah in everything. Wherever you look, فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ, it says in the ayah. So this ayah says, فَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا وَمِنْ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْ وَأَطْرَافَ النَّهَارِ لَعَلَّكَ تَرْضَى. So it says, bear with patience whatever they may say, and make tasbih with and praise your Rabb before the rising of the sun and before its setting, and extol his glory, وَسَبِّحْ, and again, and make tasbih too during some of the hours of the night as well as during the hours of the day. Like lots of tasbih, like live in a state of tasbih, so that you may attain to rida, so that you may be well pleased, so that you may have inner peace. Because there is this understanding, rida is a word that is not easy to translate. It's not only well pleased, it's well pleased, having inner peace, being content, and being more than content as well. And in another area, it says, قال الله هذا يوم ينفع الصادقين صدقهم لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك الفوز العظيم. So God said, today their truthfulness shall benefit all those who have been true to their words. So truthfulness is very important, because when I pretend that I am independent and I am not, I don't see how my needs are being taken care of, I am not true to myself. So this truth is not only something, there is something white next to me and I'm saying it's black. It's not only that. There are many degrees of truthfulness. Sidq. Theirs shall be gardens through which running waters flow, therein to abide beyond the count of time. Khalidina fiha abada, like forever. Well pleased is God with them, and well pleased are they with him. This is the triumph supreme. This is the best success, the greatest success you can have, you can aim at. God is pleased with you, and you are pleased with him. And of course, that day, in order to be pleased with him that day, I have to be pleased with him here. In another area, very, very interesting, it says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا وَرَضُوا بِالْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَاطْمَأَنُّوا بِهَا وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ آيَاتِنَا غَافِلُونَ. So there are these people who do not expect the meeting with us, with their Rabb. Why? Because they content themselves with the life of this world. They have rida. They have contentment with the life of this world. Like, how can someone be content with the life of this world? There is only one way: when we live in a state of ghafla, in a state of mindlessness, in a state of not truly being present to who we are and to what the creation is about. Forget about the meaning of the ayat. Before that is like, if I only become aware that everything is flowing constantly and everything is impermanent, everything is going away, and I can't keep anything in my hands, I can't be content with the life of this world. I would stop and actually revise all my goals in life, because like, you have a goal, but when you come there is nothing. It's like it says in the Quran, it's like a mirage, sarab. You come there, you know, a mirage is when, especially in the summer, when if you're driving, you see as if there is water far away. When you come closer, it was just the sun being reflected. There is no water. Can you imagine if you are thirsty and you set your goal to somewhere, and when you come there, it's not there. It's a mirage. It was just your perception. All our goals in life, if they remain in this life, if we have not find wajhullah in them, because wajhullah is the only thing that is permanent. It's the only thing that looks to the meaning of the divine names that are eternal. Everything else in themselves, the most beautiful things are impermanent and they end. And can you imagine, you bet all your life on something, and when you come there, it's gone, there is nothing. You find out that it was not worth it. But these people, because when we are in that state of mindlessness, then they do not expect the meeting with us, with God. Why? They don't believe in that. Why? Because they are busy with the life of this world. They content themselves with the life of this world. SubhanAllah. How can, and we do content ourselves with something that cannot content the human heart or the human soul. And they are satisfied with it. يَطْمَئِنُّ بِهَا. And in another ayah, in Surah Al-Ra'd, what it says? Only with dhikrullah, the human heart can be satisfied. Only when God is mentioned. Only when something is connected back to its source. But when we are in that sense of mindless, we pretend, we feel like we're satisfied with it. And who are these people? They are mindless of our ayah. وَهُمْ عَنْ آيَاتِنَا غَافِلُونَ. So we have to be careful. What are we pleased with, and what are we satisfied with? And does it really satisfy us? Does anything in this worldly life satisfy us? So rida is also a state of being. A state of contentment, being content. And in that state, it's really we are in surrender to the will of God. In the Quran, it's radiyatan mardiya, well pleased and well pleasing. and it's used in the Quran as opposed to sakhat. Al-Muhasibi, rahimahullah, he in his book Al-Qasd wal-Ruju' ila Allah, he says, I asked what is the meaning of rida. He replied, the joy of the heart with the passing of divine decree. And I then asked, what is the opposite of rida? He replied, sakhat. And that's because in the Quran it is used as the opposite of sakhat. And I asked, what is the meaning of sakhat? To which he replied, dissatisfaction of the heart, and its dislike for the arrival of the divine decree. Something happens in our life, it happened by divine will, and we dislike it because we forget that it's happening by divine will. And remember Surah Yusuf, the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, all what happened to him, and you could feel, even though it was not always described, but you could feel it because if personally I had been in his situation, they would have to describe my anxiety, my fear, my anger, but all those are absent in Surah Yusuf, which means he was not in that state. He was in a state of rida. He was pleased with whatever happened because he knew that this is divine decree, divine will, and he surrenders to divine will. So in the Quran, if you look up for sakhata, you will find that it's used in opposition to ridwan, to rida and ridwan, like in أفمن اتبع رضوان الله كمن باء بسخط من الله ومأواهم جهنم وبئس المصير. So it says, is he who strives for God's acceptance, ridwan, which is like rida, like the one who has earned the burden of God's condemnation, sakhat. So there is, in rida, there is a implicitly trust and surrender to the divine will. There can't be rida without that, because you are pleased with whatever happens. There are lots of ayat about it, but I'm not going to and lots of hadith as well, but I'm going to leave that. So when we talk about rida, there is rida billah and rida anh, which is rida being pleased with God, which is the result of being pleased with what comes from God. So what first happens is that we are pleased with whatever is happening in our life. This is what our first, inshallah, goal. And then if we have rida for what comes from God, by way of his taqdeer, by way of his whatever is created, is the result of his will, then inshallah the next step will be rida bihi, insofar as he is al-mudabbir, he is the one who creates and administrates and wills whatever is happening. And so the sign of being pleased with God, with whatever he creates, is, are we content at time of challenges? Because when everything is fine, we can't really know. So when we have that, when we have no doubt that whatever is happening now is happening by divine will. And if it's happening by divine will, it means it is happening with wisdom and with compassion, with meaning, not in vain, not without meaning. Whatever happens is an ayah. It means it's a sign to something beyond. And that something beyond was always the meaning that pointed to the beautiful divine names. So we will see that whatever the situation, it always reflects the beautiful names of God. So when we have this iman, when we have this yaqeen, and we have no doubt about it, then we can trust. We can trust in God because we see. And when we can't see, because we know for sure, then we trust because we've seen it again and again. I don't have to, even if I don't see now, I have that trust. And when we know Him to the point of loving what He creates and therefore loving Him through His ayat in creation, through His rububiyyah, the more we are aware of our needs, the more we are aware how they are being taken care of compassionately and generously, which means the more we become aware of our ubudiyyah, being abid, the more we will see that everything around us is rububiyyah, and things that are going on in my life, they are not happening haphazardly. They all have, then I will, when I don't understand, I'll stop. What's the meaning in this? Where is the hikmah in this? Where is the beauty? Where is the compassion? And then you will definitely be made to see them, inshallah. And so when we love what we see, we start loving Him because what we see points to Him and it is beautiful. What they point to is beautiful. Then we are satisfied, we are pleased with His tadbir, with His rububiyyah. And we are pleased with whatever our compassionate Rabb sends our way, even in the face of trial and tribulation, even when it's maybe physically, outwardly painful and hard, like Yusuf alayhi salam being jailed for he did nothing and he was put in prison for years and years. And so because he was a muhsin and he saw the aspect of things that looks to God. So when they put him into jail, in the Quran, we're not told who put him, because that's not important, that's not the point. The point is, right after he says, this is how we protected Yusuf. So Yusuf was aware that this is the way God is protecting him from what was going on in the palace. Subhanallah. So for him, it was a reflection of the name protector, Ya Hafiz. And so when you know the meaning of what's going on, even if it's not easy, it becomes much easier to get through it. So the test of Rida is, are we able to be pleased and satisfied in the face of seeming difficulties? And how do we respond to those difficult circumstances that normally would elicit maybe distress, anxiety, suffering, and pain? And they may do. Remember, Yusuf alayhi salam's father, he was in pain. He was grieving for his son, Yusuf alayhi salam. And he cried so much that his eyes got blind. However, he was in a state of acceptance, in a state of rida. So rida is not that we don't feel the difficulty. It's that it's more like we do not object to it because we see the wisdom, the hikmah, and the rahmah in it. We see the meaning in it. We know that it's happening for something good, even when we're not clear about the immediate meaning in it. So we trust our Rabb because we know He's our only provider and protector. So it's not about not feeling any anxiety or suffering or something, but it doesn't lead us to despair or to complain or to objecting, to rejecting, complaining about whatever is happening. There is an acceptance. And we realize that there is a gift in the difficulty. There is a gift in the misfortune. And we look for the gift. And the gift may, like in the case of Yusuf alayhi salam and his father, the gift was made clearly. It was clear that all those years served a purpose later, as far as they were concerned. But all those years, do you think there was no purpose? There were purpose in each day, each occurrence, each event. And otherwise, Yusuf alayhi salam wouldn't have grown into someone who was so wise. So it was part of his teaching. It's not only the end. Just the end is clear for us, the outsider, to see that, oh yes, there was truly, he was being prepared for something worth it. And especially the what he was prepared for was not only his position in this world, but in the next, the eternal world, the permanent world. So Rida does not mean that we become insensitive or numb to pain, or it does not mean that we find pleasure in suffering, something like that. It means that we find peace and joy in surrendering to the divine will, even in situations, in difficult situations, even when it is not easy. And how is this possible? Trust. When you trust, we trust who? We trust our Rabb, Rabbuna al-A'la, the Most High. He knows everything. He cares for all. He controls everything. To Him belongs the end as well as the beginning. When we're truly aware that life is not limited to this impermanent worldly life. So what we see right now, like even in this world, right now is very limited. What we see right now can't give me an idea about what is happening right now. Is it good or bad? I can't. Sometimes it seemed good and later you realize it was not so good, and vice versa. So we trust Him. And when we know that our destination is the eternal permanent realm, so we don't gauge and measure what's good and bad for us only in terms of this worldly life. And how do we know all this? How do we know our Rabb so well that we trust Him and surrender to His will willingly, joyfully, with peace? Like, because otherwise I would have to figure it out, and I have no way to figure it out. But now I know that my Rabb is taking care of everything, and He has everything figured out. That itself is just such a peace, it makes you really, really, really feel more than just at peace and joyful. We're just so grateful, so alhamdulillah that he's taking care of everything. Because I have no clue, I can't do anything, I don't know anything. And how do we know that he's the only one to trust? Because the events in this life are ayat. They carry meaningful messages about our Rabb. And we can see them as ayat if we're stuck in them and don't realize that everything is impermanent. But when we realize that everything is coming and leaving, children are growing, and we're getting older, so what's going on? When we ask that question, we start realizing there are patterns and meaningful patterns, and then we start listening to the Quran, and it teaches us how God teaches us through the Quran the meaning of his speech in true creation. He speaks to us, he communicates with us through his creation as well, through his ayat in the Quran and in the creation. Then we start seeing in everything. Everything means even the unwanted, the difficult instances of life. We see in all of them the beautiful face of our Rabb. We see in everything those beautiful messages, the ayat that indicates the divine names. And the divine names are all beautiful. They all what the soul, the ruh, the human soul long for. And when in this state of being, when we are in this state of awareness, in this state of knowing, when our focus is on seeking wajh Allah, then the discomfort of any difficulty, because there will be discomfort, there will be pain if we are sick, they will get lighter and lighter. Because the more we focus on the meaning, the less we are focusing on the, oh, it's hurting here and there. And so that difficult situation, for instance, the sickness, that pain in the sickness, they become like a mirror to us, reflecting beautiful meaning, like how much we need health, how health is beautiful, how we need the Shafi, the provider of health, and how we start asking for health forever. Like, I may have a sickness here, but you don't want to have it in the permanent life. And we start appreciating, I have a sickness in one part of my body, but the rest is all well. And it becomes an ayah, and that sickness starts teaching me things about the eternal realm. It's an ayah. It carries meaningful messages. And when I'm busy listening to the messages coming with the sickness and the pain in the sickness, I am not, it doesn't grow out of proportion. I'm not, I don't lose perspective of the pain. Otherwise, there is impatience, and we say, it's been how many days? How long am I going to be in this state? And that anxiety, those fears, usually are more painful than the physical illness itself. And it becomes unbearable. When we are in this state of awareness, in this state of trust, in this state of seeking wajh Allah, then we see through it, we see beyond it to what it is pointing to. And what we see there, when we find there, is wajh Allah, and that wajh Allah is so beautiful that it surely makes us pleased. As it says, he will be pleased. The one who seeks وجه ربه will be pleased with what he finds there, which is the beautiful meaning of our Rabb's Isma al-Husna, and that is Rida. So it becomes like the more Rida we have, the easier it becomes to surrender, because you understand that's the way. You are in a state, it becomes easier. There is less and less resistance. There is no reason for not surrendering to the will of God, because we become more and more aware and remember more and more that God always wills the best for us. So we will be made easy to the easiest. The easiest is to surrender to the divine will and to trust Him. So higher levels of Rida will correspond to higher levels of surrender, higher levels of being immersed in the contemplation of Wajh Allah in His creation. And that will be the first ayat of the surah. Remember, it starts with وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. When we look at things around us as ayat, because whether it is said explicitly or not in the Quran, this is an ayah. We know that this is an ayah. And in other parts of the Quran, we're explicitly told that this is an ayah. And so when we look at the night and the day and the creation of the male and the female as ayat, and we contemplate and we seek wajhullah in them, then we will start seeing creation. How do you say? We'll start seeing through them. We'll start seeing them as signposts. Like we're not stuck in them for them, in the created things and events. And parts of the created things are the joys and the pains of life. So neither the joy nor the pain, we won't be stuck in it. We will listen to it. What meaning is it bringing to us? What is it reflecting? What is it indicating? What is it an ayah to? And so the more what we'll hear there, what we'll see there, those messages are always beautiful, whether they are messages brought through pain or through joy. That's what an ayah is. So I'll stop here. May Allah make us among those who are radi with His decree, and may He grant us His rida, so that we may be pleased with Him and He may be pleased with us. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ridaka wa na'udhu bika min sakhatika wa min an-nar. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. O you self that has attained to inner peace, to rida, return unto your Rabb well pleased, well pleasing. Enter then among my servants and enter my garden. سبحانك وبحمدك عدد خلقك ورضاء نفسك وزنة عرشك ومداد كلماتك ونسبحك بجميع تسبيحات أنبيائك وأوليائك وملائكتك آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Ameen, ameen, ameen. May Allah, may you feel God's rida on you. I don't know even if there's an English word for rida. Pleased is not rida. Rida is satisfaction, is
contentment.
contentment. It's so many words, like it's not one word. So may we all feel this, and may inshallah, may Allah be pleased with us. Even like the word rida, as I said, it's not easily translated. Jazakallah khair, Yamina. This is one of the key words that are the best gifts. I think this is the best gift ever, because you can have very little but have rida, and you can have a lot and have no rida. I think rida is the key word. So may Allah give us this biggest ni'mah of rida. Ameen.
If we don't find rida within a situation, we find ourselves dissatisfied and displeased with what we see around us, then please just go back to the beginning of this surah. It means somewhere, somehow, we missed the path. We did not follow the guidance of this surah. Because if we follow it, it's at the end, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى, which means he surely, certainly will have rida.
Ameen, 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 ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakallah khair, Yamina. So, dear sisters, any comments? This is a big, beautiful fruit at the end. So, inshallah, let's practice, inshallah, seeking rida. So let's practice following the steps and seeking rida, and inshallah, when we meet again, we can see if we actually reap the rida. Does anyone have a question or a comment before we start our venture of practicing?
Aliyah, I just wanted to say, we don't seek rida. Rida is given to us when we seek وجه ربنا الأعلى. إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء ربه الأعلى. So what we seek is وجه ربنا. And so rida,
which means
yeah, go ahead, inshallah.
No, I'm saying which Arabic, if you could just translate it one more time.
Which means that whatever happens to us, especially when I'm not satisfied, it means go back and seek the countenance of our Rabb in it, meaning the aspect of that, whatever happened, that looks to God, that looks to the divine names. It means the ayah aspect of things, the aspect that carries a meaningful message from our Rabb. So it is a message of rahmah, of compassion, a message of wisdom, and a message that is that has a beautiful meaning, because it is something beautiful and lasting. And so if I find that, when I seek it, it will be given. And when it is given, it is so beautiful that you cannot be not pleased and content and satisfied. Actually, content is only the beginning of rida. Content is when I do not object, but I'm not fully satisfied. Rida is when you are it's so beautiful. Alhamdulillah, it makes you fully grateful. It makes you prostrate before, and feel how generous our Rabb is, that he did not leave us to our own devices here. He's taking care of me even when I'm stubborn, even when I refuse to surrender, even he's taking care of us. And it may reflect as hardship, but it reflects as hardship because I'm resisting the meaning in it. So we seek the aspect of things, of creation, that looks to God, that looks to the meaning. Whatever is happening with a meaning. What is that meaning? When we find it, it will be something that is so beautiful that we will be very pleased with it, inshallah.
Dr. Yamina, I just wanted to make one comment because the Prophet ﷺ, I just recall one hadith, beautiful hadith about giving, especially on giving. That once they did, sacrifice of a goat, and the Prophet ﷺ came and asked Tasha radiallahu anha that how much is left. So she said, we gave away everything except one arm or something, leg of the goat, whatever. So he said that the one which we gave is the one which we will count. The one which we ate won't count because we just ate it and enjoyed and it's gone. So the permanent thing is that you give, and the thing which we enjoy is just gone, evaporated with the moment, with the time and all that. So I just wanted to share that. Hadith that Prophet ﷺ taught us.
Alhamdulillah. I was not aware it was a hadith. I thought it was one of the companions. And thank you for sharing.
Jazakallah kull khair, and thank you for correcting me. I'm always jumping very quickly. So alhamdulillah for correcting and reminding us. May that equation be clear, and may we at the end of it get through that, inshallah. And jazakallah khair. So next week we have
one blue hand up. Asma, is it that you want to say something?
Oh, I had a question, but if it's too late, it's okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, so my question is about Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam's father. He was sad, but he was rather at the same time. So my question was, did he, because the way we explained Rida was contentment and being well pleased, etc. But it doesn't seem to mesh well with sadness. So is it kind of like he embraced his sadness as a gift from God? Or I'm trying to understand.
Well, if can you imagine, like it would be the other way around, wouldn't sit well with me. Like if he were not sad, it would mean he doesn't know where his son is as far as he's concerned. He does trust that he is in the care of his Rabb. However, he still is a father. His worry is about it, but his worry is not in the safe. His sadness is a sign that makes him realize what a beautiful gift his son is, and when he comes back, it is what makes him feel very grateful, because he appreciates him. But sadness can be used in objection, in a despair way of being sad, or he's sad but content and doesn't complain, and to the end he trusted that he's alive. For instance, he said, go and look for him. That everyone thought he's being crazy. What are you saying? They told him, but like he never lost hope.
And also sabr jameel. Isn't sabr jameel like sabr with rida? Like what does sabr jameel mean?
Beautiful way, beautiful.
And that beauty maybe the rida in a different way. Like, that sabr jameel, like I have sabr, I have rida with what you have ordained on me, and that's why I have sabr jameel, because if I didn't have rida, there would be no sabr jameel.
But like it does not mean, rida does not mean, that's why I wanted to say that we are insensitive to what's going on around us. We are numb, as if like we're pleased with what we see, because sadness in itself is not good or bad. Like it is in itself, it seems from the question that like sadness is something bad, but it's not. Sadness is something created. As anything created, it is an ayah. It is an ayah to what? To For instance, in this case, that I he misses his son Yusuf, and it is a reminder that the son is a blessing. It is a reminder. It is also a reminder that I am weak. I cannot do anything for my son. So it makes me go back to my Rabb and ask for help. So it is. It has many meanings. It's an ayah to many meanings. But so sadness shouldn't be viewed, perceived in itself for itself. What is it pointing to? But if I do not listen to my sadness and it doesn't tell me anything about my Rabb and about the gifts he sends me, then in itself it may become, I may make it a means of torturing myself and being in despair and things like that. So pain and joy, sadness and joy are all ayat. In themselves, they are not good and bad. What they point to, the meanings are beautiful meanings, inshallah.
I didn't see any more hands. And sorry, Asma, I did not see your hand. I was on a different page. It was so beautiful to hear your voice. So do we have it? And now I have the page open in front of me. So do we have any other questions or comments? Jazakallah khair, Asma, for this beautiful question, because I think it's important to understand the difference between these two feelings. Having rida and does not disagree with feelings like sadness. So any other questions?
I think my only question would be that I probably need to hear that whole concept again.
one more time. So do you are you asking that Yamina goes through it again, or do you want to have a whole new halaqah on it?
Are we next time continuing with al-Layl, and then it would be probably helpful to start.
Inshallah, we'll carry on with Surah al-Duha, but since it's a continuation, it's Surah 93. Inshallah, we will probably go back to some concepts.
But next week is teleconference, right?
Yes, inshallah.
Sure. After that.
Jazakallah kull khair then, and inshallah we will move into Surah al-Duha, and we have time, Andrea, inshallah, the beginning of it to reflect and maybe for us to digest more of this concept. Jazakallah kull khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair.